Hello my friends, Grim here, shooting from the hip with an immediate reaction to the latest announcement, a crazy announcement, Metamorphosis, the new 2.6 Runeword. In the Dobrunsky video, it was posited that Metamorphosis is rather like Jalal's mane, Cerebus's bite, and Guillaume's face all rolled into one, which is very big news for shapeshifters, and that assessment is hard to disagree with, so let's take a look at this item and exactly what it does. Metamorphosis is made in helms, in this case a mask, with 3 open sockets, and the runes you need are Io, Cham, Fal, and this is actually relatively cheap, at least on the current market. You've got 2 mid runes on either side, kind of an unusual, unorthodox, not commonly used high rune in the form of Cham, so as things stand right now, as you can see on ladder, you can get Cham for low, you can get it for Vex Ohm, these are very common trades, I have done them myself, you can even get it for a little bit cheaper if you're willing to play around a little bit. Now if Metamorphosis is truly OP, of course you can expect the value of Cham to go up accordingly, but the point is this is a relatively cheap rune word compared to some endgame rune words of similar power. Now from here I think it makes the most sense to read it from the bottom up. Let's skip this talk about marks for a minute and just start with +5 to shapeshifting skills. Well, that seems really good. That's a massive number. It's to the whole tree. There's not much more I can say about it besides, wow, that is really good. Moving on, 69 enhanced defense. Not sure why they went with that number. Should we be scanning it for 420 and other funny numbers? I'm really not sure. But there you have it. 10 to strength, 10 to vitality, 10 all res. Those are solid, always useful no matter what stage of the game you're at, no matter whether you've respec'd recently to be min-maxed, or whether you're just kind of plowing through hell and trying to get to a point where it makes sense to respec. Either way, those are 3 solid, perhaps unspectacular, but universally good statistics to have on a melee character especially. And then speaking of melee bonuses, cannot be frozen, of course that is Cham's claim to fame generally, but here it is awesome to have that kind of woven into the fabric of this very powerful rune word. That, of course, very huge for a class that lacks mobility and teleport and has to get up close and personal to do its damage. Now before we talk about what those marks are, remember that you do not have to make this in a basic mask as the sample did. You can make it in a super cool looking druid class specific pelt. I prefer wolf, but antlers are awesome too. Try not to do the bird unless you have to, just my opinion, but much more importantly, with really good staff mods. You see here an example, 3 to Fury, 3 to Heart of the Wolverine. As the Fury builds stand, those are both very good, desirable skills, +3 to both. In addition to +5 to the whole tree, you are going absolutely through the roof with plus skills. You can get some enhanced defense and durability as well. Now let's come back to Metamorphosis and take a look at the marks. Both the werewolf and the werebear strikes will grant their respective marks for a duration of 180 seconds. Mark of the Wolf will give you a 20% bonus to attack rating and will increase your maximum life by 40%. On a class that already has a very high life pool, this multiplicative effect is absolutely insane. Mark of the Bear, 25% increased attack speed, 25% chance of crushing blow, and physical damage received reduced by 20%. These are insane numbers, but it gets better, my friends. It gets better because, yes, both of these stack with one another. So you attack as a werewolf, you immediately switch to werebear, you make another attack for, let's say, about 178 seconds, give or take. You have both marks active no matter which form you remain in. The coexistence of those marks is astonishingly powerful. It really does make it so this helm is sort of like all 3 of the aforementioned helms, Jalal's, Cerebus, and Guillaume's, rolled into one. It is not strictly better than any of them because each of them have some statistic at least that Metamorphosis does not quite have, or does not quite have as much of, but overall, it's very difficult to argue that any of those can now hold a candle to a Metamorphosis in a strong base. So again, the coexistence of those marks, extremely powerful, but to me, I'm not sure that I love it thematically. I think it kind of takes away from the immersion of being a bear or a wolf. Not both, not switching to one just to simply get a proc and then going right back to the other. Not even being a bear half the time and a wolf half the time. Now, if you're playing this way, it seems to me, at this stage anyway, that you're more or less forced into doing both. And thematically, that is a little bit of a concern, as well as just in terms of the micromanaging. It adds just another thing to swap to proc, to get your buffs, and then go back to actually playing the game. And the fewer of those that we have in Diablo, the better, in my opinion. Again, awesome, very powerful, but those are my two concerns with the buffs coexisting. Then if we think outside the Fury Druid box for just a moment, what if this helm is the new call to arms, in that it is a ubiquitous swap, at least for melee characters, to pre-buff before putting on some other gear and going in. Now, this is actually a very, very dangerous prospect, in my opinion, because it just adds to the tedium and the micromanagement of playing Diablo. I personally finally got my hands on a 6/6 call to arms on my Windy Druid main. That's very exciting, but it is also just another thing, and it's just another aspect of micromanaging, and it would be way worse if Metamorphosis is to fulfill a similar role for melee characters of just about any class, because then you're not only talking about a weapon swap, you're talking about something that needs to exist in your inventory somewhere, so that is definitely one of my concerns with this item. Another cause for concern, in my opinion, is that melee is a little bit underpowered compared to casters. Maybe a little bit is putting it modestly as well, right? And this definitely powers up melee, definitely powers up an underused class. My favorite class, I have no problems with any of that, but it does it in a way that does not correct for some of the pre-existing limitations on melee. People don't really like melee as much, mostly because it does not have AoE damage, and also because there is at least a 5% guaranteed chance to miss, no matter how high your attack rating is, right? So those two things still exist here, and specifically Fury Druid is of course limited in its play because you can't teleport while shapeshifted. This does not correct that for this class either. Not that I want everybody teleporting, but my point here is it kind of doubles, or indeed triples down, on the things that Fury Druid in specific and melee in general are already very good at. So it further divides the role between caster and melee, rather than kind of working to bridge the gap in a different way. Instead, it's really narrowing the focus of melee yet further, but making it better at doing so. Now, I'll leave you with this final word, my friends. We are working here with incomplete information. Will there potentially be changes to how melee works that might address some of the concerns I just laid out? Do some of the stats that you're looking at here with Metamorphosis actually roll, or are they all fixed? Like I said, that 69 number stands out as a little bit weird. Maybe that enhanced defense rolls, maybe some of the other things roll as well. Could be anything from all res to the amount of shape-shifting skills you can get. Who knows? And perhaps most importantly, will they, in concurrence with this, change how transformation works? In other words, will you be able to go directly from wolf to bear and back again, or will you still have to add yet more micromanaging with wolf to human to bear to human to wolf? Who knows, my friends? We'll see when it all comes out in patch 2.6. In the meantime, thank you, as always, for watching. Of course, leave your hot takes in the comments below, give us a thumbs up, and a subscription if you've not already done so. That would be most helpful. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.